hope we meet some of these people today because only the clinically insane are going to be out here today. And I think those are generally very interesting people. Welcome to Running Fever. My name is Michael Davis, and this is a show about fitness, diet, and medicine. My goal is to live a long, healthy, happy, active life right up to the very end, and we're active today, I'll tell you that. But it's all about living long and loving life, and love life, you got to do some crazy things once in a while. Well, it's a beautiful day at Lake Fayetteville, and it's it's snowing, and it's been snowing throughout the night. It's morning. It's almost it's 10 minutes to 8, and if you're on YouTube, you can see that it's a winter wonderland. It's it's snowing, several inches of snow on the ground, and it's cold. So why am I out here? Well, I'm out here for you. I really wanted to have this experience recorded for the show, and the only way to do that is to come out here. And we'll probably go out on Dean's Trail as well, because we're expected to get a lot more snow, but I drove here to Lake Fayetteville today. Fashion department. It's I finally got my base layer in from Temu, so I've got 2 layers on the bottom. Probably should figure out how to get another layer in there for days like this. 3 layers on the top, and I've got gloves, hat, or beanie, or whatever you want to call it, and my hood up. And again, my face is cold, and probably I'm not going to get warm during this trip, no matter how fast I go. But you know what? I'm not the first one here. I can see a bike track and footprints. So I hope we meet some of these people today because only the clinically insane are going to be out here today. And I think those are generally very interesting people. So we will see. But the tracks look like somebody running. And we already know that people that run can sometimes be crazy people, addicted to the running that they do. But it's a single track of footprints that are far enough apart that they would either have to be somebody running or a giant of some kind. So, but it's snow. It's not like it's ice, you know. And continuing the fashion department, wearing my Doc Martin standard boots here today, not wearing walking shoes. And the reason should be pretty obvious. I wanted traction for the snow. And today, unlike the last time I hiked in these boots, I wore the thick socks, so I shouldn't have any injuries of that nature on this trip. Oh, there's a squirrel. Oh man, no rest for the weary, no rest for the squirrels. It is beautiful here, you know. There's a, blanket of snow on the ground, and It's very light snow. It's might as well get into the weather report. I don't know exactly how long it's been snowing because I did not see snow when I went to bed last night. And this morning it was snowing and snow on the ground, obviously. So it's got to have been snowing steadily for all night, basically, because, you know, like I said, there's already several inches of snow. But I mean, if the snow just continually comes down, even if it's very light snow, you can barely see it, then eventually you're going to build up that accumulation. And even here, with the trees overhead, there's plenty of snow. When I got into the truck, I wanted to wait until it was light. I get up really early, but I wanted to wait until it was light. Of course, it was kind of tricky because this storm is going to get worse, and the conditions are going to get worse for driving. And obviously, it's colder this morning than it is going to be this afternoon, but I definitely didn't want to come earlier because I wanted to be sure that we could capture this on video. But when I got out to the truck, it was 39 degrees, and that is in my garage. Of course, I'm concerned about plumbing and electricity. That's the main things that we're concerned with. Quickly, before I even left my neighborhood, the temperature in my truck was down to 25, and it's 10 degrees here. So possibly the coldest I've ever been out on the show here. So it's starting to warm up a little bit, but I'm going to be cold this whole time. So, not walking terribly fast. I don't have a miles per hour. Only been walking for about 10 minutes. Seemed longer. Okay. So yeah, 10 degrees here now. I was wondering how in countries like, you know, Sweden or I think Finland, you know, places that are just very cold, how they handle all this stuff. I know like they have block heaters for their vehicles and stuff like that, but how do they keep the electricity going when there's snow and ice on the lines? Maybe they're underground, all of them, but you know, maybe cold affects underground lines as well. I don't know. And I don't know, I'm thinking in a place like that, you probably have backups like kerosene heaters and things like that, which I don't have. I'm completely dependent on my gas central heating and blankets. That's all I've got. Well, somebody has pretty much traveled the entire distance I've traveled here today. There's a little wobble by the bike, maybe slipping a little bit. It's interesting how situations like this, the tracks tell a story of what happened and how it happened. So you can tell if, I mean, look back at my steps, they're pretty close together. But the ones on the road are not. And there's a little track of, you know, sort of a where the snow was brushed as the foot was coming down. Yeah, it might be interesting to read up on those places and find out a little more about that. We don't have this kind of weather much around here. Certainly not to this extent. This is probably the worst storm in many years. Somebody was telling me that there was a chance it might drift to the north and we wouldn't get snow, but we would just get ice. And I know that from experience that that's a very bad thing. Because snow you can grip a little bit, And when it gets packed, definitely gets slippery. But ice, nothing you can do about that. It's just hard to move around in. Fortunate was the timing of this. It started last night, which was a Friday night. So we've got the weekend when most people don't have to be out on the roads. My church is still having services this weekend, but it's been made clear that you should not come if you think you cannot safely do so. My hands are like ice right now. I'm going to try to put them inside the hoodie, but I don't think that's going to help. This clothing helps trap heat, but if there's no heat to trap, then you're out of luck. And soon, all of these tracks are going to be filled in. And, by tonight, it'll be the really, really crazy people that are out here. Criminally insane people. Now it's only just the merely crazy people like myself. I did have a short distance to drive here. Only takes a few minutes. And I did have one hill to navigate. The rest was pretty level. It's not very noisy out here, There's going by this busy road here, and there's a sign for Fayetteville. So, this is the north side of the track. So I believe I'm technically leaving Fayetteville and going into Springdale at this point. And that is Old Missouri Road, which is a big 4-lane north-south corridor. But yes, very quiet. One thing, though, not many people are out driving. And for another thing, snow has a dampening effect. Doesn't reflect sound easily, unlike concrete, which is what I'm walking on under the snow. 6-ton bridge and a creek. Standard bridges you see all over the Greenway. I don't know if you know this, I'm working on a series that will show you the entire Razorback Greenway 1 mile at a time. I don't see any ice or anything. There's snow down there and the water is still flowing in this creek. Whatever the creek name might be. So, where was I on the weather department, which I think may take the entire episode, because it's the biggest thing happening right now. There goes another car silently moving along. Yeah, my distance is not being recorded for some reason. Time is, but not the distance. So, 2 inches were expected last night, and that may have been accurate. Again, I went to bed like 8:39, so there might have been a couple of inches before midnight. Today, actually, no, the updated forecast for last night was 6 inches. Today, the last I heard, was 4 to 6 inches. And then tomorrow, Sunday, 1 more inch of snow. And it's obviously not going to melt. So we're looking at possibly 13 inches of snow by the end of the weekend. And I don't think it's going to get any warmer next week. So travel may be difficult during the work week as well. We shall see. And it's not like the Northeast where they get this stuff every year, and so they're prepared with salt trucks and plows and things like that. No such thing here. There is a little bit of equipment that's only going to go on the largest roads, not on any side roads or anything like that. I actually lived in Massachusetts for 5 years. It is typical to have negative temperatures up there. And when I say negative, I mean like negative 20. Not unusual at all for the wintertime in Massachusetts. And snow is just there. I mean, snow is there pretty much from March until, or not March, but October until March, I think. Yeah. I went up there in October and I was staying at one of those places that has rooms with, like suites with for places that you would live longer than just a night. You might have a separate bedroom, very small separate living room and kitchen. So I stayed in one of those places. It was pretty nice. And I remember there being snow on the ground in October. But when I say there's snow for all that time, I mean there is literally snow on the ground the entire time. Now, it doesn't look like the winter wonderland that I'm walking through right now. Not at all. So, as you know, as I explained earlier, places like that have plenty of equipment and procedures in place to deal with the snow to make sure that commerce doesn't entirely come to a halt. And so you've got snowplows out on the streets and the interstates and everywhere. And not only that, but every business hires people to come in and clear the snow off their parking lots. If you didn't, nobody could park there. And what they do with this snow, they don't generally truck it off, although I think that's what they do in the city, because there's no place to put it in the city. But they just pile it up on the whatever surrounding grassy areas there are outside of the parking area. And once you pile something up like that, it continues to freeze. It never gets warm enough to completely melt that big, solid hunk of frozen snow. So it literally stays there the entire year, and you see these. I mean, it's really ugly. It's because snow when you pile it up from a parking lot is dirty. It's very dirty. And so you've got these big dirty piles of dirty snow all over the place. And that's just what it looks like in the winter. In the city in the wintertime. I think we've gone about a mile. But again, my distance for some reason is not working. It's 25 minutes. But it's now 2.8 miles on the Lake Fayetteville Trail, and 3.8, I believe, is where we start. Anyway, not too worried about it. I'm just going to go out for no more than an hour today. Feeling pretty good right now. My hands are still like ice, but the rest of my body's doing pretty well. My face, of course, is frozen. And driving, over the years, I've always heard people complain about other drivers, well, they don't know how to drive in the snow. And I'm guessing that the people saying this probably also don't know how to drive in the snow. Because it really, they told me when I got there, I said, how do you get through this stuff? And it's really just two words: slow and steady. So that's all there is to it, really. Being patient, being cautious. I mean, don't head the pedal to the metal when you're coming over the top of a hill. But there's always accidents that happen. And mainly I think it's because of just too much traffic. As long as you can stay separated. And this is true of normal driving too. And there is an animal, a medium-sized animal that has crossed the road here. I can't really tell from the footprints whether it's a deer or a dog, two-legged creature. I don't know. I'm not much of a tracker. I don't usually come across this sort of thing. So that's what I did on the way here. Out of my driveway and regular two-wheel drive. Heard a lot of crunching of snow. I didn't lose the grip. And then when I got on the road, put it in four-wheel high and took off. It's hard to turn when you're in four-wheel drive because those front wheels driving, that mechanism makes it difficult to turn. Yeah, I've seen several of these, what must be animal tracks, going across the road, unless there's a human walking on stilts. Seems insane, but this is insane. This is an insane day. What are you going to do? Got to use your imagination. And it's just a beautiful field here with a gray sky and grayish blue sky. And trees. A little bit of greenery on the evergreens. There's plenty of those here, actually. And lots of trees with no leaves on them that are gathering snow on the tops of their branches. Not very windy, although the snow is coming down slightly diagonal. Looks like the bike track is fresher here, and actually the snow is thinner. I want to walk at least a mile today, so I'm going to say let's go at least for 40 minutes. I think the cold has affected my Samsung S3 Frontier, and as a result, it's not showing the distance. don't mind it. I'm glad I did this. I've done hundreds of shows, and a lot of them looked similar because we're walking in them a day later with the weather the same and so forth. And this is definitely different. I like it. And I feel a little better today. Right now, even my hands, I've had them kind of shoved in the front pocket of my hoodie for a while, and that seems to be helping a little bit. So, diet/weight report, or diet department. Weighed in at 235 this morning. Slightly down actually from a couple days ago, but obviously much higher than I want to be. A couple weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, I was between 210 and 220 for a long period of time. I need to get back to that, but that's when I'm out here. I'm obviously getting too much of some things, but exercise is not one of them. And so today I'm getting some exercise in hopes of burning some of those calories and melting some of those pounds away. And, this is a big storm. It's not very common for here, and we know that the infrastructure is not there to effectively make this not a big deal. So it's a big deal, and I understand that. But, I heard of somebody going to Walmart and saying the shelves are empty. And I don't know, I think that's a little crazy. Certainly we had that kind of thing going on during COVID when people didn't want to go out much. And it makes sense. And I suppose this could make travel difficult for a week. But definitely no more than that. And so my weekly shopping was adequate for me, and I think would be adequate for just about anybody, but people kind of overdo it, I think. It's my personal opinion. Of course, it's better safe than sorry. So I definitely understand the feeling. So 35 minutes, and my watch usually talks to me every mile. It'll say, you've traveled 1 mile, your heart rate is such and such. I'm thinking my heart rate isn't that. It's 130. Going to this. And I know that at my age, about 113 would be the target heart rate. So, getting a pretty good cardio workout apparently. So I'm not going very fast, but it may be just the effort required to go up and down in the snow with my feet is putting a little bit more stress on there. I'm going to go 40 minutes and then walk back. So I'm thinking maybe 3 point something miles altogether. I don't think it'll be 4 miles. I just don't think I'm making that much distance. But watch is not telling me. So we're at mile 230. So I don't think we're going that fast. I think it's like 318, so probably only a mile here, maybe. Possibly only a mile. I'm going to try to pick up the pace here and see what we can do. We've been going for 43 minutes, almost. All right. So yeah, I don't want to call those people crazy. They're just being cautious. And that's a good thing, you don't want your family to go hungry or without whatever you need to get at the store. They were spreading salt in the parking lot at work when I left on Friday. But the snow didn't come till much later, after I went to bed. Or either that or it was so light before I went to bed that there was no visible accumulation. Because I did check. But it was predicted to start at 2 p.m. yesterday. Definitely did not start then. So I don't know if that means it's going to go longer or what. So, despite the tracks, I have not seen anybody on the trail today. So they must have done their thing, maybe did one circuit and gone away. And I can already see with the falling of snow, the tracks are slowly fading away. It's slow because it's very light snow, but it's just continuous, Implications of cold weather. Probably not a good idea to go out in this weather. Honestly, probably not the best idea. But I believe that I'll be fine, with my layers and my gloves and hat and so forth, that I won't suffer any frostbite or anything like that. But so my new limit, I think, is going to be 0 degrees. Because today it's 10, and I think I'm doing pretty well. Not venturing terribly far. Maybe a mile, maybe more than a mile. Not really sure. I think it's 318, and then we're 2.8 or something like that. So, live math, folks. I think it's about a mile. Well, nope, that wouldn't be true. 2.2 more like, because we're subtracting and so forth. So I'm not too worried about it, but obviously at some point frostbite kicks in. They say that your breath doesn't, you not only can see your breath, but it freezes as soon as it comes out. I don't think we're at that point yet, and I don't think we will get to that point. But it does occasionally get below 0 here, and I'm going to commit to not going out when it's below 0. I can feel that my beard is kind of stiff, so whatever moisture was there is freezing up. My ear feels pretty cold on this left side for some reason. So maybe I need some more protection. Maybe balaclava would be good. My entire head, except for my eyes. And I'd have to have my mouth open so I could speak into the microphone. My mouth exposed at some point. Be able to speak and not be muffled. There they are. 2 deer. And it's just standing there as I'm walking toward him or her. There's another one. So 3 deer I've seen today, and they are running around. Jumping. That is beautiful to see. The other one's still over here somewhere in the woods. The deer are merry today, merry deer. I don't see the other one, it's disappeared. So I think these tracks are deer tracks. Squirrel, they don't even hardly touch the snow when they're jumping over. But could be squirrel tracks somewhere. I can feel my heart beating a little faster right now. I'm going up an incline. It's a slow, not terribly steep incline, but it's nonetheless. I remember coming down it on the way here, so it's the most inclinious, if that's a word. It's the biggest incline. So, and I can see my own footprints here. Looks like, although they're really far apart. I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe there's a new player on the scene. Who knows? Those look like they're actually melted, like someone feet that were on fire. Maybe they've got shoe heaters. Shoe heaters. That's what I need today. Maybe hand warmers. Yep, it's a beautiful day at Lake Fayetteville. I haven't seen the lake today. Would have been on my left, but I didn't get that far. Trees were too thick. Or maybe I just didn't notice it. I did see a creek, but I'm not sure what this is. A couple of benches and a plaque of some kind, and a little road going back there. Oh, okay. That was close. There's ice here underneath the snow. All right, so I'm going to clear this off and see what it says. The Oxbow I know something has happened to this thing. Mail Road. The Oxbow route comes to Fayetteville. And that must be this mail road here. That was a big deal. Go back and look at my Davidsonville episode. First town in Arkansas. It wasn't considered a town until they had a postmaster. Even back then, and this is probably 19th century sometime, maybe early 19th century. Remember, we're in the Midwest. We're not in the East Coast where it goes back to the 1600s. We're in 1800s territory. And communication, as it is today, was very important back then. By the way, my hands are warm now. So gloves really do work. And I think it's helpful to be exercising and maybe even putting my gloved hands in my hoodie pocket work as well. I don't know. Beautiful day. Winter wonderland. Glad I came out today. So, if you're contemplating your own winter exercise routine and you're in a place like I am that occasionally experiences some snow, maybe you're in a place that has a lot of snow and you can tell me a few things about it. That'd be welcome for sure. But you can exercise in the snow. By the way, I thought about this as I was putting on my boots. Back in my Naval Academy days, it was popular to actually go running in combat boots. And, you can imagine the sort of culture there that leads to that. But also, there was this thing called the seawall. And it, Naval Academy is right there on the Severn River, right there on the water. So along the water line, waterfront, if you want to call it that, was a series of enormous rocks. I'm not sure how to say how big they are, but not as big as a car, but they're big enough to walk around on a little bit. And it was popular to run the seawall. And I can see it's kind of like hiking or mountain biking, it's a challenge because of the uneven terrain. And these rocks are even more dangerous and unpredictable than a lot of the hiking trails that I'm on, for sure. And so it wasn't uncommon to see someone running the seawall in combat boots, like similar to the work boots I'm wearing today. Even in the wintertime, when it was even more treacherous. And Annapolis, closer to the sea, and probably about the same latitude as we are right now. Maybe even a little farther south. This is considered on the edge between the southern region of the United States and the Midwest region. And Maryland is considered to be southern, as I think Arkansas is as well. I consider it to be southern, culturally, even in this northern part of the state. But physically, up to interpretation, I suppose. Anyway, this activity of running on the seawall in the wintertime in combat boots was also, in addition to just being part of the culture, I think part of the reason it was in that culture was a book called A Sense of Honor, written by James Webb. James Webb has been the Secretary of Defense. I believe he's been a senator in the state of Virginia, and he's been an author. I'm not sure which he's best known for, but he's written several novels. One of them being A Sense of Honor. And he was a graduate of the Naval Academy, and I believe he was there in the early 70s, at least according to what the book says. That's how the experience is described with the dress and all. But he describes a very harsh culture, especially for the first year students, called plebes. And I do agree. It's been over an hour now. I do agree that it was pretty harsh. It's really tough, that what they call plebe year, and it formed my character to an extent. There's always something that when bad times come along, I can say, well, I survived that experience, and there's not much more difficult than that, psychologically, physically, in every way. And it's certainly what he describes, whether it's embellished for the sake of fiction or simply the truth of a different time. I was there between 84 and 88. He was there 10 years earlier. And it's generally assumed that things get easier on the plebes as time goes forth. Whether that's true or not, really don't know, because if you've experienced a tough plebe year, you're probably going to inflict that on the plebes under your charge when you become an upperclassman. And it's all about the upperclassmen. They're the ones that determine how your plebe year is going to go. So, I don't really know, but I know what was described in the book. And in the book, which of course practically everybody who goes to the Naval Academy had read, at least at that point. I don't know if it's true today, but it's unofficial required reading. So in the book, Webb describes a forced run, not a voluntary one, where a plebe was forced to go out when the rocks were icy and snowy and dangerous in his combat boots and to run the seawall. And so having read that, people wanting to be as tough as that guy 10 years later would run the seawall. And I have to admit, I did it myself a few times. And actually, the seawall itself is not very long. Most of the area there is just, it's not really a beach, it's more like concrete, but a small, not a huge concrete structure. And again, I haven't even been there in many years, so I don't know what it's like now. But the mental challenge of the seawall. But plenty of people, including myself, would integrate that seawall run into their exercise routine, taking a full perimeter of the campus. And the snow is getting thicker now as it's coming down. It's a lot easier to see and it's more diagonal. There's a bit of a breeze going on. So the storm is worsening as we go along here, heading back to my vehicle. But hopefully I will get away with this excursion, and my trip back to my house will be uneventful. And I won't be coming out, at least not involving a vehicle, the rest of the weekend. However, there is a trail, as you regular listeners will know, within walking distance of my house, 5 minutes from my house, called Dean's Trail, and it's paved like this one. And so I may decide to walk, that being safer, down to that trail and do another episode from there. It's rare that this kind of thing happens, so I really want to get it documented. And that'll be a good thing for tomorrow. But no more driving in this for sure. Took a chance and hopefully we'll get away with it. There's another road back there. Not allowed. Hard surface. E-bikes, class 1, 2, and 3, are allowed on the soft surface. Only class 1 are allowed on the soft trails. I don't know, I've been talking about cycling, and I am very seriously considering getting an e-bike and starting to ride myself. And one of the big considerations is what class to get. And I know that a lot of soft trails will allow a class 2 bike. The only difference for the class 2 being that you can use a throttle without pedaling. But apparently, Lake Fayetteville, only class 1 bikes are allowed on the soft trails. You could ride on this hard trail, the paved Razorback Greenway, as much as I want a Class 2, but I need a Class 1 to go on the soft trails. And that is an important development. I did not know that before. I saw that sign just now. So now that will inform my decision. And honestly, I think it's quite likely that I will go with a Class 1 in order to have that flexibility. I was thinking I'm not likely to do some really tough trails with lots of hills and rocks and all kinds of stuff like that, but the people that are really into it love that stuff. I mean, it just makes it more fun and exciting. But I don't think that I want to take the greater risk of taking a spill doing that type of riding. So I was thinking, of getting a Class 2, which would help me if I get so tired that I can't pedal. I can just use the throttle to get back to where I need to go. And I thought, what I was, I looked up, of course, Mountain Nebo, one of my favorite places to go. And I thought that in those parks, and this may just be the city part of this park, probably is, that only allows Class 1, but I thought that in the state parks you could use a Class 2 bike on soft trails, at least some of them, the more sedate, less challenging ones. But at least here at Lake Fayetteville, you need to have a Class 1 bike. Now, Class 3 also does not have a throttle like the Class 1s, but it has more power and can go faster. It's a top speed of 28 miles per hour, assisted. Obviously, if you turn off the motor, you could go faster, especially downhill. And the heaters are really going here at the Botanical Gardens house, and at the greenhouse is outside. Feels good.